Hey guys, it's me, Sujoy over here. Today I'm back with another video. This is going to be a bit of controversial type video, but I thought I just had to talk about it. Um, so I'm going to be talking about uh, UFOs here in Vietnam, or what I can say is that. Um, is there a lot of UFO activity out here in Vietnam? Let me just have a bit of my tea. Yeah, so it just stopped raining right now. It's like raining out a lot, like hell, because I stay at the countryside. Like I've been living here in Vietnam for 5 years. As a teenager, I've always been very fascinated with with UFOs. I watch a lot of YouTube videos and, like Secure Team 10, and then, of course, when I was in school, I remember, we had this debate class, and, like somebody was asked, like, do you believe there is life out there? Uh, and, um, and I strongly believe that we're not alone. We're definitely not alone. Now, coming back to the UFO, my UFO experiences out here in Vietnam is that I'm not going to disclose all information over here because I don't want to leak out sensitive materials, um, and I'm not going to be talking about my abduction experience back in Australia. But what I can say is that there's definitely a lot of UFO activity out here in Vietnam, especially if you're staying out here in the countryside. I've seen things which are definitely not normal. Like I remember that this was like a. I remember like I finished my I was out in the balcony. I just finished my high intensity cardio workout, and I was just sitting outside in the balcony, and I was gazing up I was looking up looking up to the stars and all that, and and then suddenly I saw a blue beam of light just flash so fast, like a hypersonic velocity. Um, and I think this happened last month, I believe. Like it was like around evening time, 6 p.m. or something. Because I stay at the countryside. I like to go out to my balcony. I like to bring some coffee and tea. I love to look at the nature, the countryside out here in Vietnam. When I'm talking about countryside, I'm talking about Long An, specifically. And then suddenly, I just saw like two bright kind of a light, like with some streams, like they were yellowish, absolutely bright yellowish lights. First, I thought that because where I stay out here is I usually see a lot of commercial air traffic activities around here because a lot of international flights when they are landing to Vietnam, they fly over the countryside, and then they touch down at the airport, the main airport at Ho Chi Minh. So I'm not very new to seeing a lot of air traffic activities out here from where I stay out here in the countryside, because I see a lot of international air traffic activities. But this was kind of a bit strange, so like at first I couldn't make out, I was like saying, is that a commercial airline or something? But because usually where I stay, the commercial airlines over here, they like fly around. I believe they'll be flying at an altitude of around 10,000, 5 to 7,000 feet from where I live. But this was like so strange, like I saw this kind of a yellowish bright. It was not an orb, but it had a kind of a it had a kind of a tail, you know. I was going very slow. I thought, was that a drone or something, or is that some kind of a kite? Because here in Vietnam, people love flying a lot of kites and all that, with different shapes and forms. But estimate, this object was like flying at an altitude of, my best guess would be around 3,000 or 5,000 feet, and it was just going really slow. I mean, I could see it from a distance, but like I said, I have a minus 2.5, eyesight, but definitely, my glasses are powered, so they're very sharp. I can see objects, but and then suddenly, I saw something trailing behind the same objects. There were like literally two objects going very, very slow, you know, and they were like distance apart, but they had a yellowish. It was really yellowish with a kind of a tail, kind of like as like a trailblaze or something, which I definitely saw before on YouTube about these two objects dancing around the skies with the. But this was really yellowish. Um, I remember, like when I used to stay out, because initially when I came to Vietnam, I used to do a lot of teaching around. I lived at Govap district for 2 years. I stayed at Quan Chung area, which is very close to the international airport. Um, and I remember one day, just like watching my TV, and I was out and I just opened the door. I mean, opened the window of my hotel, because I used to live in hotel for 2 years here in Vietnam when I first came here. Um, and I believe, I don't know, I felt like something really passed really fast, you know, and it was definitely kind of, I don't know if I can say it's a metallic object or not, but it was definitely kind of a dark object which passed very fast. And I remember that time, I think within 10 minutes or something, I could hear a helicopter, you know, pat go over. I mean, because So what I'm trying to say over here is, um, the Vietnamese, um, they keep a track of this. All right, so if there's something violating the airspace, or there's some kind of a mystery object, or a UAP, which you call it nowadays, moving around the airport, or around the air bases, I can see there is a quick implementation of, sending out a kind of a search, like a helicopter. Maybe it was from, I don't know, maybe it was from the Vietnam Air Force or where, but they respond. Okay, I mean, if there's something unusual, definitely I believe that the Vietnamese, Air Force and the military, they definitely respond to that. Because, like, I don't want to get into too much sensitive topics, but there are a lot of telecommunication towers out here in the city, and also in the countryside. So, like I said, yeah, and this happened like, many many years back. I believe I was like, it was in Ho Chi Minh. I was like sitting alone one time at a park, and I was gazing at a star, and it looked, something was really odd about it, in the shape, and it felt like it was moving here and there, and so I was just like gazing at that star for a couple of minutes. I was trying to understand that, hey, is that really a star? And then suddenly, I mean, nobody was around, but I was sitting alone in the park, and then suddenly the star just made a movement like this, and it came like this. All right, it was at a very far distance, but I mean, how do we know like stars are really stars? You know what I mean? Definitely, there's a lot of UFO activities out here in Vietnam. I mean, I'm not going to talk about my abduction stories. I'm not going to be talking about me feeling the sense of being levitated a couple of times, many times when I was when I was in my early 20s. Um, and the feeling of being levitated when you were sleeping, and not trying to open up your eyes, and feeling like somebody's lifting you up, feeling completely weightless, or like I'm sleeping and then when I wake up I'm completely on the opposite side of the bed, and I don't know how that happened, how I changed my sleeping position from there, and I've come all the way down there. A lot of unexplained things, and definitely, I honestly believe that we're not alone. Okay, and definitely all these new fancy words like UAP, unidentified flying aerial phenomenons, or all these new abbreviations. But hey, at the end of the day, we're not alone. Okay, we're not alone. Um, and of course, I mean, like I've been staying out here in the countryside. I see a couple of times, and I don't feel like taking on my camera and recording something, because like if you're an abductee, or you know you feel like you have a connection, deep rooted connection. And like sometimes when you look up when you look up to some stars which may not be stars, or which may look very bright, or kind of orbiting type lights which I've seen out here in Vietnam, like stars usually are white but they don't change colors, like um, I think this was in District 4 when I used to stay at Nova Land before, at the river. I don't know what was that called, Rivergate property or something. I don't know, but I used to live real. I think I used to live on the 10th floor or something. But I remember like it was like middle of like 3 a.m. I got up just to take a piss, and I went to fetch some water, and I was just standing outside the window. I mean, I was just looking out from the window, and there was this kind of a little bright orbish light. It was definitely not a drone, because I know how drones look like. But there are a lot of things which I see out here in Vietnam, which sometimes baffles me, and that's also primarily one of the reasons why I actually decided to relocate to the countryside, because you will get to experience these kind of sighting, especially if you're not living downtown city, or if you're living in the countryside. Definitely you get to see a lot of activities, and now that a lot of UFO activities has increased lately, this 2023, it's not a surprise that it's going to be increasing more and more. But like I said, as an abductee, which I'm pretty confident I was, um, these like we see these exotic vehicles, or three-dimensional beings, a lot of camouflage, a lot of the technology is so advanced, we're way behind. But they're out here to protect the humanity. Okay, they're out here to protect the humanity, and I don't think they're going to reveal themselves and have that first contact with us unless and until uh, problems like racism, discrimination is completely eliminated from the face of the planet. They look different. Okay, they look different. They're different beings, and it's going to be very disturbing for someone to encounter them, because it's you feel like this is not real. But like I said, first contact, I believe, is only possible if things like racism, discrimination is completely eliminated. Like I'll give you an example of Vietnam. Vietnam is not completely adjusted with different types of foreigners. Okay, When it comes to foreign people, Vietnam is still a very white infatuated country. They think the foreigner looks white. Okay, they're not used to how foreigners are from different countries. They're not used to how foreigners are like coming from India, or I mean, especially if I'm staying out here in the countryside, I get a lot of looks. But of course, I always wear my mask. I always wear my dark shades because yeah, I mean, you're different. They're not used to it. They don't know how to. So yeah, definitely in that way, Vietnam has got a long, long way to go. I mean, I would not say Vietnam is Singapore, because Singapore is a very multicultural society. So I mean, if if we really want to see first contact come in place, then of course humanity needs to be adjusted with different races completely. Racism, discrimination needs to be completely wiped out from the face of the planet. Then I'm pretty sure that these beings will try to will feel more comfortable to establish contact with us. Okay, they're out here to protect our planet. They're not going to reveal themselves. Um, the governments are working with them, and I'm not going to get into the details about this. All right, there are black budgets, there are secret programs. Certain governments around the world are involved with this. All right, certain politicians are controlled. All right, and especially as an abductee, you get that telepathic connection. When you're looking at certain objects, you feel like an emotional attachment, like it's like a mother to his child. um, and I know these dimensional beings, they don't reveal themselves because they know there's a lot of problem in the world. Our planet is not prepared for first contact. We still have a long way to go. So we have to eliminate racism, discrimination from the face of the planet. Um, and then I think we will be in a better position to make first contact with these beings. That's all I got to say. But yes, again, when it comes to UFO sightings out here in Vietnam, yes, there is a substantial amount, especially if out here in the countryside. I've seen a couple of sightings. These are not falling stars. These are not shooting stars. I'm not high on marijuana. I don't smoke pot. I'm very much in my senses. I just wanted to describe my experiences. I myself have been an abductee. I have. And one thing, like when you're a little toddler, you get to see things which adults cannot see. Like I remember, like maybe the toddler can see a spaceship, which is not visible to the human eye. I mean, these objects are so fast. They're specifically being designed, the velocity, the speed that a normal human eye cannot catch it. All right. Even if you have an advanced optical camera, it's very difficult to track these objects. So because they know that these beings know that there's a lot of problem in our planet, in terms of global warming, racism, discrimination. So, yeah, in order to get the first contact done, like I said, racism and discrimination needs to be wiped out from the face of the planet. Humanity needs to live in harmony. So, unless and until this is being sorted out, you cannot have the first contact. And they are there to protect us, okay, from something which is horribly going to happen within a couple of years down the line. So, I mean, that's all I got to say. I mean, that's all I want to talk about UFOs out here in Vietnam. Yes, I have seen UFOs out here in Vietnam, exotic vehicles, hypersonic speeds. Um, but I don't want to publicize it much. I don't want to take out my phone and record any of these because sometimes it's your own connection with them. You know what they're trying to convey, the message to humanity. So That's all I got to say. I mean, with that being said, you guys have a great weekend. Peace out.